Hey everyone, welcome to the Geek Envy podcast, episode 52. My name is Joey, and this podcast is about video games, geek culture, and anything else we feel like talking about, like smithing. I'm here with the standard, what's quickly becoming the standard crew. Courtney is right there.
Always. Hello, everyone.
Eric is over there.
I've always been standard.
And of course,
Fuck you. You were in the Poconos for like a year.
Hey, get out of here.
That's true. And of course, I'm Joey, your wonderful host. And then we have a special guest today, and we'll get to that guest in a little bit, because today is another one of our episodes where we get to chat with geeky people in the world that are doing cool, geeky type things that might not be what everyone's doing, and that's kind of the fun aspect of these. Last podcast we talked about the future of gaming, because it's here again. We looked at the PS5 specs versus the Xbox Series X stats, and Eric and I both decided we'd probably go with the PS5 if we were to buy a system on release, and Core chose the Xbox because she's an Xbox fanboy. Fact. Charlie, what about you? What would you choose?
I'm definitely gonna go with the PS5.
Oh,
sure.
Always the PS5. I know. It's because you all are a bunch of weebs. Get out of here. Get out of my face.
And that happens to be the system Instagram prefers too. So
yes, the people spoke and they all preferred PlayStation 5.
And then Courtney ran down the Summer Game Fest updates. Maybe next time we can chat about what Microsoft ended up showing. But the topic of this week is our interview with our geeky craftsman, smithing related special guest, Charlie, the owner of Glennforge. Charlie, thank you for joining us today.
Man, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
Thanks guys.
Charlie is a blacksmith, prop maker, and welder operating out of West Virginia. You can find Charlie's stuff on Etsy at etsy.com/shop/Glennforge. That's Glenn with 2 N's. And then he's on Instagram at Glennforge. Charlie, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
I do metal fabrication, or in this case forging, with like a literal a giant metal stove with coal. It's not like it's basically there's a ventilation system, and then there's the coal the forge, which has a bunch of coal around it, and I put metal in it and I heat it up and I hit it with a hammer when it's super hot and create something from it. I'm trying to make sure I explain it properly. Like, it's just a giant, pretty much, yeah, it's just a giant coal stove, except, there's no, like, you're not inside the stove, you're...
God, please don't get in the stove.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I do stuff like, I can make knives, you can make pretty much anything out of metal that you could imagine with a setup like that. You can, make railings. You can make ornaments for people's homes, big and small, depending on what you want to do. Bend metal, shape it into something artistic, like a statue or a sculpture.
Yep, that's awesome.
I feel like you gave a very PG description of what you do, but completely undersold the badassery of the fact that you're sitting next to like a superheated stove, smacking metal until it becomes
that's some hot
a
shit,
weapon
like
of sorts.
literally you're hot, like sweating.
You bang fucking hot metal.
Ooh, you bang hot metal.
Yeah,
Exactly.
There's the
and you have a really good picture on your. You have a good picture on your Etsy of the hot cave.
Yeah.
The coal, the room with the coal, that thing. You have a good picture of that on Etsy in case people are curious what he's working out of. Well, awesome. Thanks for joining us today to talk about what you do. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to pick your brain. I will go ahead and ask you the first question that isn't you describing what you do. So I was kind of curious, what's one of your favorite things to work on when you're blacksmithing? Do you like making knives? Do you enjoy making more like home ornaments or railing or jewelry? What do you enjoy making most?
I enjoy making... I guess the thing that I enjoy most making is what I'm interested in doing, which I'm learning right now, is blades. I'm really trying to get into that more. Right now I'm learning from my mentor, and I'm going to be learning from some other people too, but I'm trying to become a bladesmith more and more. I already made a one-sided knife, and I'm learning how to make a double-sided knife right now. And I like making armor. I'm getting into, that's another big thing I'm getting into, is bench work. I can forge metal and make armor out of it in the forge, but I'm also going to be doing like stuff outside of the forge where you bend the metal with and you hit it with a hammer and get the same result. But I really...
This sounds like Skyrim. Are we in Skyrim?
Yeah,
right now?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm just a sucker for the freaking making the cool stuff. I mean, I definitely love making the more artistic and making projects and commissions for people, railings, home improvement pieces and stuff. But really, my heart's set on more of the stuff that I find the most satisfying and interesting, and that's making weapons and armor.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome.
What is your favorite thing that you have made so far? Do you have a project that you're particularly proud of?
I did make let's see, what was one? I did make a railing, my first customer ever. I made this very, very cool, very artistic. It's still simple, but it's still I'm proud of it because not only is it my first commission, but it was really, I really enjoyed making it. It was just one simple railing. It was beautifully. I believe it was. I was very proud of it. It was an artistic railing. It wasn't something super fancy, but it was still something that took a lot of work. I mean,
it doesn't have to be super intricate or detailed to still be beautiful. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Other than that, was making that knife. That took a while. I had to really learning how to make a proper blade is very hard work.
And why is that? What makes making a blade so difficult?
You have to make sure you do all the right steps. You can't rush it. You got to learn patience. It's all about patience. And patience is something I've had a hard time with sometimes in my life. Well, and that's the thing that I've learned with smithing and creating projects and stuff, is that I don't get to get them all done on time the way I'd like to. I'd like to post stuff more and show people more of my work. I'm actually planning on starting a YouTube channel where I make stuff, but I'm really learning that you got to pace yourself with this kind of work, or you're gonna burn yourself up. But as for a blade, that's kind of the principle. It's you have to be very patient. You have to follow the steps right. You have to make sure that you hit the metal with the right technique, and you oil quench it properly, or the blade will get too brittle. Quench it too soon, it's going to get the blade brittle. Not properly grinding it or taking off all the wire brushing it while you're forging it will make it harder for you to have to clean it and grind it. That's what I ended up doing with that blade. Was I didn't wire brush it enough while I was forging it, so I had all these scuff marks and dents, and it took forever to get it all out.
So, what do you consider your first introduction into smithing? How does one get involved or get an interest into doing this and then stepping into that actual world of smithing?
Well, I met my mentor when I was very young, when I was 13. I was just chilling out down by the railroad tracks. This dude is my mentor. Is based out of Shepherdstown. He's down by the railroad tracks, and he's definitely a very interesting person. I wasn't really expecting to meet someone like him in this town, but he's a very cool dude. He works. He's been a blacksmith for for over 40 years now, and coming on 50. But he is an amazing, interesting person, and one of the coolest and most influential people I've met in my life. he has been a big influence on me wanting to smith, especially. The cool story is I actually posted up on my Facebook story about how I got into it was that he made me a Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts. I asked him if it's like, hey, what can you do? And he's like, yeah, I can do stuff like that. It's like, can you make this? And I showed him that, and he's like, yeah, I can make that for you. And I was like, he said, you got $50? And I was like, sure. And I actually didn't have the $50. I ended up lying about that, and my parents found out. They were like, oh my god, Charlie. I was like, what? Oh, this is so cool. They ended up paying. Yeah, no, but it was, he made the fucking Keyblade out of aluminum. It was, I wish I had a picture of it. I wish I kept it.
Okay, which Keyblade?
It was the one Sora. It was the first Keyblade ever. The one, the yellow handle with the silver.
The traditional looking.
Yep,
Keyblade,
traditional one, the very first one from Kingdom Hearts 1. That's around that time. That's when it was out, and I was a big fucking fan for that series. So like, I'm still kind of a fan for it, but like then I was like, when he made that for me, I thought that was the coolest fucking thing ever.
I would too, man.
That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. But yeah, getting into it. If someone wanted to get into it, they'd have to. Unless you like run into a smith yourself, I would say like going online and looking at blacksmiths around your area, because you'd be very surprised. There's a lot of smiths around here too, and are surrounded, especially in Pennsylvania as well, like not too far, or even like towards Virginia. So.
And on that topic of being in multiple states, I know that you've done conventions before. So, do you travel a lot and do conventions and events and sell your wares? Or, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to say that now with the current world situation, but prior to that, were you traveling and selling a lot, or were you just kind of selling locally?
So the thing is that, right, like, I plan to be doing that a lot more, first of all. I do. I was doing that sort of. I mean, I just started my business like 2 years ago. Like, I'm still getting things off the ground right now. Like, I'm really trying to push to do that a lot more, definitely. I did some of my stuff at a show once, and I plan to do that more. Definitely plan to do that more. I actually made my own mini forge so that I could do demonstrations and make stuff for people on site.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. That's the next thing. And I want to go to cons and sell stuff at tables. Start at some smaller cons and then work my way up to bigger ones. I need to get my name and notoriety out there. But I want to I'm making like some cosplays that I'm making with I've actually got a really cool one that I'm making completely. But I'm working on a Star-Lord cosplay. I'm making the helmet I'm 3D printing the whole helmet and doing the whole work on it and everything.
Wow.
And getting that set all up. But that's the one I'm working on now. I'm not doing. I was gonna work on it from the ground up, like doing all the sewing and everything. But again, I've learned that like time management. I'm gonna be just working on parts of it, but I'm making suits of armor out of foam and stuff. I definitely plan to be doing a lot more cons and stuff, and I have some friends that are gonna like help me too, like by modeling some of my stuff as well. So
that would be neat.
Yeah, absolutely. But to answer the question properly, yeah, I've done some, and but definitely plan to do a lot more in the future.
So you segued into cons, and I was going to ask you about cons later on, but I saw you did make the Star-Lord outfit with some 3D printed parts. Do you plan on including any of your like smithing and metal work into cosplays? I would. I'm actually going to make a whole. I'm gonna bet. So for one of my benchwork projects, I'm making in leatherwork, because I do leatherwork as well. I'm making Goblin Slayer's entire armor set. That's nice. It's gonna take a while.
That sounds amazing.
And it's gonna be a very long process. The thing about leatherworking and the armor making process about it is, I don't know if it's gonna be like pricey, but it's gonna be a bit pricey because I'm making the shield, I'm making the sword, I'm gonna make everything from the ground up. That's gonna be like a process where I build it one part at a time and I show it off on my social media and be like, hey, this is a process on that. But that's because due to how much I'm trying to make sure that I budget and finance properly right now and make more money on commissions. As soon as I make more money, that'll be more consistent. But that's going to be like stuff that I make and then I'm going to have a photo shoot for. But I don't know if I can wear those at cons, only because it's all metal, and a lot of cons right now are very, very strict about their policies on what you can wear. Or, if I rolled up in a whole suit of armor, they'd be like, that's cool, but you probably can't wear that because if someone bumps into you, they're going to knock themselves out or something. No, but yeah, that's the answer to that. Yeah, I mean, I will, absolutely. Even if I can't go to cons, I still do photo shoots for the work that I do.
Dude, I'd so look forward to a full Goblin Slayer. And hey, Goblin Slayer himself always rolls light. So even though he has metal incorporated, he likes to be movable.
I figured that would be a good first one because it can mix his leatherworking too into it, and I'll be working on that soon. Again, I'm just trying to get all things situated on some other personal life things right now.
Well, that is quite the project, but I look forward to seeing it, as I think all of us do.
Yeah, same here.
Charlie, what was your first attempt at smithing?
It was making a leaf. That's the first thing that every apprentice learns as a blacksmith, pretty much.
Oh, really? Is that was it a rite of passage?
Yeah, basically. A lot of that's how the tradition works. I don't know what it's like in Germany, but Germany, like Dan told me, that it's what a lot of apprentices learn in general. They make a leaf as an apprentice, and as a journeyman, they do their first project or commission, which I did, and then. Yeah, it was a leaf, and that was the first attempt, and that was definitely something that was very intriguing for me, especially when I was getting into it.
Did that kind of cement that interest in the art for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. That and the Keyblade, for sure. That was the big one, but definitely that showed me that there's a different side to this that I had to learn and understand.
When did you feel that you might have a talent for this?
I'd say after about a year. I'd say that I really stuck with it, and as I was growing up, I was very off and on with it though, because I was still trying to figure out if there was anything else I wanted to do with my life. But by the time I was 20, I definitely was like, all right, I want to commit to this more and more. And by the time I was 25 and 26, I was like, I'm very serious about this now. And I took more time to get better at it and do it more.
That's awesome. Do you think there's a specific type of person who would be more would have an easier route to success, or do you feel like anyone can do it with enough practice?
I'd say that yes, with enough practice that anyone can get good at it. It's just it's an art, just like drawing or painting. You just have to practice and do some studying and learn how to. You don't necessarily need a mentor. It really, really helps. But if you put in the time and effort and really, want to do it, I'd say yes, it's something anyone can do.
Yeah, I can imagine having a mentor helps a lot. That's cool that you have
absolutely.
one.
So I got one quick follow-up question about the whole idea of how do you get into it and whatnot. So what would you say are some misconceptions people have about smithing? The whole idea of they see it in movies, they see it on TV, but you experiencing it firsthand, what would you say differs from reality versus what's portrayed?
It is definitely it's definitely a long process. Every project, I if it's anything bigger than a leaf, or if it's not even a simple knife or something like that, it's I've seen Dan be able to pump out a knife because he's a master smith in under an hour, but that's because he's been doing it for so long that it is nothing for him, or it's it's second nature. But if you're new, or you're still figuring out stuff, or but it's even if it's a railing, it still takes a while, or if it's a katana, those take a lot longer. The process is much more detail oriented, and I'd say that it's definitely the thing that people can get misconceptions of is, as I said, the time it takes to make something, or I guess the amount of real effort it takes to make something like a sword. it's, if they're forging it on an anvil, or it's two guys helping as well with the sword, chances are that is a very arduous process. That in itself, like if they're forging a katana, like you're seeing the steps in like a movie or something like that, or in real life, it takes a while. It takes them about a year to fully finish, or I think a year or a little over to fully finish a katana, because it goes through, like, katana's a good example, because they have to create the metal in a giant clay oven, and in Japan they do that still right now, and basically make the ore, and only a select bit of ore that they get. I forget the name of the ore exactly that they make. I apologize for that, but it's really cool because they only get a certain amount of that metal after they forge it in that giant clay oven. And the rest of the ore that's used is used for kitchen utensils, for Japanese kitchen utensils, and then they have like this only select few chunk that they used for katanas.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then they have to go through. They have to forge. They have specific jobs, literally. So there's the guy that forges it with his apprentices, and then they send that blade over to like a place in Tokyo for a guy to sharpen it, or do the wrapping, and then do the sharpening. And it is a long process. It is not something that's done over months. It literally takes like I think a year or a little over.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, what is something that was involved in building your workspace? Like, I know earlier you had mentioned that you kind of wanted to have a traveling, was it forge? So, is that something that you work with now? Do you work in an actual established forge now? Can you work in anybody's forge? Like, what's the workspace situation when it comes to blacksmithing?
In terms of where I work now, I work out of Dan Tokar's Willow Forge, which is in Shepherdstown. I may be moving somewhere else soon, but I right now work with him. But pretty much any forge that I work out of, or you just need to be able to forge. In the case of being able to blacksmith, you need a forge. You need to be able to have coal and a fire. You can actually make like homemade ones. It's actually pretty, like there's like YouTube tutorials of how people make them. They're not like the best, but they still could like get some level of metal work done. But the mini forge that I make can get some pretty good work done, or enough that I need to like bend a railing or something over an anvil if I heat it up in the right spot. That's why I also made it, so that when if I don't know, move away and have to do my own thing elsewhere, I have a place to do I can do my work still that way.
Yeah, that's smart. That makes sense too.
But yeah, and also for like bench working stuff, I'm doing that at my home, or I'd find a maker space to do that out of. And
so, speaking of like maintaining your mini forge, like what goes into maintaining a forge? Do you have to, clean it a certain way? Do you have to, yearly maintenance? How does that work?
And how do you get your like materials too for what you use?
So the forge, when you're working in a forge, you have to make sure that you keep these things called clinkers from happening, and that's basically coal that goes down into the fire and becomes this basically burnt out coal, and that can like be bad for the forge because it can clog it up and also melt the inner metal parts of the forge, which you don't want, because eventually that could burn a hole through. So you got to make sure you keep those out, and you dig those out as you're burning coal in the forge as you're working, and you got to make sure that you clean up. You make sure that the pipe down at the bottom of the forge is cleaned out. There's no gunk or anything covering it. You make sure there's proper ventilation too, like the ventilation shaft that leads the smoke out of the entire building that you're forging in. Make sure that's working properly. And the types of materials you need is like anything from the mild steel to high carbon fiber steel, carbon fiber metal, or like any type of like or like, you know, metal sheets, metal rods, different shapes of metal is definitely what is actually a better point to make is, you know, if you're making a railing, you don't want to like it's better to get the bar already, if you can order it and have it shipped to the shop, that way you can cut it out in a bandsaw and get it all sized up properly. And
are you going to like Home Depot to get this stuff, or is it like very special places you gotta go to get raw material?
You could buy some of the stuff probably at Home Depot, some of like rods or something, but I would like order them from catalogs. I actually have a couple that I've already gotten from Dan, and I've been researching places that like you can look it up online, you know, places that sell it. You can order like a shipment of it, or there are local places you can get stuff you need out of too. So
yeah, and so one of the things I guess we all kind of share with everyone we've been interviewing is that we're all essentially nerds in some way or into geeky things, and you've already shown us that you're kind of mixing your geeky past and present into what you do. How did you first get into like gaming or movies that you like?
Yeah, mostly through like anime. Like when I watched Toonami growing up, I thought it was very fascinating. I guess that's where it started. I watched Cowboy Bebop. That was my first anime, and I thought that was I didn't think that was actually an anime when I first watched it. I thought it was just something Adult Swim was doing, or it didn't really seem like it. But I mean, after that, I kind of got like I grew up with Sailor Moon and a bunch of shit like what else? Trigun, S-Cried, like a lot of stuff like that really stuck to me, and I was like, this is really cool stuff. This is very imaginative, and I'm a very imaginative person, and I don't think I'm ever going to give that up at this point in my life. I mean, I like I'm a nerdy person. I'm not ashamed of that or anything like that. I'm trying to turn that into trying to mix it into my already passion. And I think I can make that work if I keep at it now.
You definitely can, for sure.
Thank you.
Charlie, we're going to talk more about, like, you know, what do you offer in your shop? What can people buy and stuff like that? So
just pitch your stuff.
Well, I do online commissions now, so if I can do anything from knives, and to railings or jewelry like necklaces, rings. I can do leather bracelets. I can do copper bracelets.
Might have to commission you.
Yeah, that would be dope. Yeah, I sell, and that's the thing on my Etsy right now. It's small. I'm still trying to get more on there, slowly but surely. But I plan to sell like stuff like Witcher pendants. I'm actually going to be making.
Cool.
I'm going to be. I've made some 3D prints of them, and I'm going to sand cast them out of aluminum and sell them on there too. I can do candle holders, anything from like just cube shaped ones and to anything more sophisticated than that. Small stuff, which is just wall hooks, things for your kitchen, and armor. I can make armor, leather and otherwise, to a degree, which would be like if you wanted something super sophisticated, I can definitely I could definitely take a look. I can do anything from those sorts, like armor making, ornamental pieces for your home, weapons. I had a church ask me once if they wanted me to fix their gate, stuff like that. And I have an Etsy page.
That's awesome. Yeah, is that the best way to reach you?
That and my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All Glennforge. Follow me on there or check out my work as I keep working on it.
So quick, what have you learned through the whole small business process? I mean, given the situation where we are with like COVID and whatnot, I'm sure you've had a bunch of time to like kind of sit back and refine ideas, but what have you learned in particular about this?
Yeah, I definitely have something to say on that. Like, I've learned that it is definitely challenging, and you have to be very patient. I learned like not too soon ago. It's like, I wish I could have more time to do stuff, but I need to pay bills, and I have to have I work 2 full-time jobs. I work I work at Macy's as a forklift operator, and I work my business, which I have to make sure that I come home to and get the stuff done I need to get done. And sometimes I'm tired, and sometimes I need to wait till the weekend to work on it or something like that. It's definitely that I've learned that I have to take it slower than I'd like, but that's just the nature of the beast, especially if I wanted to succeed, because I don't want to burn myself out and give up on this in like another year, because that would suck. That's definitely
right. Totally. That seems like the biggest issue with our passion projects. They deserve that time, but we're all still
reality
trying
to
just make ends meet.
Yeah, reality is not always what we want it to be, but at the same time, I think that I would rather be persistent on it and just even if it takes like 10 years until I can I want to be able to just do that, be my own thing. It just takes, and then that's the thing. That's what it takes. You have to have the want so badly that sometimes you're gonna want to pull your hair. Because sometimes it's like stressful. Some days I'm like, oh my god, it's like I'm so pissed and tired. And like other days it's like, I just need to rest. And sometimes I have to do that. Sometimes I'm really frustrated but my body's really feeling it, and if I don't take some rest time, I'm gonna blow my brains out. So
right, that seems like a great aspect of this craft, is that it does teach you patience.
Oh yeah, and you can't build a whole suit of armor. I thought I could find ways around that, but it's like, no, if I don't do it the right way, it's gonna look like crap, and I don't want that. My work is very important. That's the thing. I was like, can I upload stuff? Should I upload? That's the thing. I should never. If that's the one thing I've learned, is that I can't always upload stuff on time for people to see it, or any of that. Go with the same when I start a YouTube channel, because I got to get everything set up. I have to do the whole project process. A lot of those guys on YouTube, I'm impressed, but it definitely takes them time, and they've had time to learn how to get things rolling on their end, and I'm just.
Yeah. Everyone's at a different.
Everyone's level. Everyone's got their different pace, and I'm no different, so I don't have to worry about it as much. I don't have to feel like oh god, if I don't keep up, I'm gonna get left behind. That's not how I think at all. Should not ever.
Right. No, this is an awesome passion. It's really cool, and you're turning it into an awesome business too. So what 10 years from now, you talked about, what do you think is kind of one of your passion projects 10 years out?
Well, the thing is that right now, I want to open up maker spaces. I want to open.
And what's a maker space for those that don't
A maker
know?
space is basically a place where people can learn, and also rent out a space for to work on stuff. They can take classes on making things and working on
cool.
stuff. And I want to open up one in West Virginia, and open up some around the East Coast and the West Coast and in California, or around that area too. I think that would be a really cool way to allow the community to have something, or just add more into community-based thing where people can go to a place and make stuff. But basically, I want the first one to be in Shepherdstown. I don't know if I'll ever live here for the rest of my life. Still, but I mean, I love this area. It's a very nice area, and I want to. That's why and I love the idea of being able to have people learn how to do the stuff that I did, or having the option to as well, more accessibly. Especially.
Yeah, totally. You'll become that mentor for people who are, just getting into something like this.
Yeah, that would definitely be. Something that I would like to do, and that's why I want to do it. But that's one of the long-term plans. Yeah.
Excellent. Charlie, you got anything else you want to mention?
Just that if anyone listens to this, if you ever want to be an entrepreneur, or do something that you love, definitely take the time to research and understand what you're getting into, whether it's blacksmithing or something else. And it's a big undertaking. It's still an undertaking for me. I've not reached that point yet where I can support myself off of, but I definitely think that it is worth it if you put the time and effort and you have the determination and grit to see it through. And to pace yourself and above all else, make sure that you do what you love, because if it becomes anything less than that, then you definitely should not be doing it, I think.
That's good life advice.
Always do what you love.
Yes, fine words, Charlie. Thank you again, Charlie, for spending time with us. That was Charlie, everyone. Blacksmith. We'll put where you can find him in the details of the podcast and the video, but of course go on to etsy.com/shop Glennforge. That's GLENNFORGE, and you can find him on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Glennforge too. Thanks so much for taking our questions, dealing with people who have no idea how to do anything with our hands other than press buttons on a controller.
Thank you, Charlie.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Yep. Well, you've been listening to the Geek Envy podcast. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube, and online at geekenvy.podbean.com. We are on Instagram and Twitter at geekenvy, and you can send your comments, suggestions, questions, or concerns to askgeekenvy@gmail.com. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and next month we got another interview coming your way. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Charlie, and we'll see you next time. Say bye, everyone.
Peace out, Girl Scout.
Peace out.
Good night.